The scariest thing about losing weight is this: you can do everything right, count every calorie, stay disciplined every single day, and still see nothing happen on the scale. So what if the problem isn't your willpower, but something you never noticed? It sounds impossible. After all, if you're eating less, the weight should come off, right? That's exactly where millions of people get confused. They believe they're in a calorie deficit, yet the number on the scale refuses to move. So, what's really happening? You can be in a calorie deficit on paper and still feel like nothing is happening on the scale. That is why this problem frustrates so many people. They are eating less, trying harder, and still not seeing the result they expected. So the real question is no longer, am I eating less? It's what is making the deficit smaller than I think. Here's what most people never realize. A common first issue is that the deficit is smaller than the person thinks. Not because they are lying to themselves, but because real life is messy. Portions slowly become larger: sauces, drinks, small snacks, even a few bites while cooking. Calories are estimated instead of measured. None of these mistakes seem important on their own, but together they can meaningfully shrink the intended calorie deficit. That is why a diet can feel strict and still produce slower progress than expected. The effort is real. The math may simply be less accurate than it appears, but that's only half the story. While you're trying to lose weight, your body has been quietly changing in the background. As body weight decreases, the body needs less energy to keep running. A smaller body simply costs less energy to move and maintain. Research also suggests that some people experience a small amount of adaptive thermogenesis, meaning the body may burn slightly less energy than predicted after weight loss. In simple terms, your body adapts. That adaptation is real, but it isn't magic, and it doesn't mean fat loss suddenly becomes impossible. Current evidence suggests that this effect varies from person to person, and by itself is usually not large enough to cancel out a true calorie deficit. Now comes the part that frustrates almost everyone: the scale. Day after day, body weight naturally moves up and down for reasons that have little to do with body fat, water, glycogen, food still being digested, normal day-to-day fluctuations. All of these can temporarily hide real progress, so you might actually be losing fat, while the scale appears completely stuck. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means a single weigh-in tells only part of the story. The long-term trend is what really matters, and then there's the invisible part of the equation: sleep. Most people underestimate how much it matters. When sleep is inadequate, appetite regulation becomes harder, and staying consistent becomes more difficult. One poor night's sleep won't ruin your progress, but poor sleep over time can quietly make any weight loss plan harder to maintain. Stress can have a similar effect. It doesn't magically create body fat, but it can make healthy habits much harder to stick with, which means that when progress slows, the answer isn't always to eat even less. Sometimes the better question is, can this plan actually be sustained? And this is exactly where many people go wrong. When the scale stops moving, they respond by cutting calories even further. They hope more restriction will solve the problem. But very aggressive dieting can make consistency harder, increase fatigue, and make the entire plan more difficult to maintain. A sustainable calorie deficit is usually the safer approach, because successful weight loss isn't about forcing your body to surrender. It's about creating a plan your body and your lifestyle can realistically support over time. So if eating less isn't the whole answer, what actually works? Track food carefully for a short period so your calorie deficit is based on reality rather than guesswork. Look at weight trends over several weeks instead of reacting to day-to-day changes. Remember that calorie needs change as body weight changes. Keep moving, especially through walking and strength training. Protect your sleep. Manage your stress. Small adjustments made consistently are usually more powerful than extreme changes made briefly. There is one important exception. If your weight has stalled for weeks despite careful tracking, or if you're pregnant, or you're struggling with disordered eating, it's better to speak with a healthcare professional before making your diet even more restrictive. Sometimes the safest solution isn't eating less. It's getting better guidance. Here is what all of this really means. A true calorie deficit still matters, but a stalled scale does not automatically mean fat loss has stopped. Sometimes the deficit is smaller than you think. Sometimes your body has adapted. Sometimes the scale is simply hiding your progress. The real skill isn't trying harder. It's measuring more accurately, adjusting more calmly, and staying consistent long enough for the real trend to appear. Because the moment you stop asking, why isn't my diet working? And start asking, where is my calorie deficit actually disappearing? You're finally asking the question science has been trying to answer all along. And that's exactly where our next mystery begins.